Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Functioning Chat with Kettle Kitchen and Dale and Ginger and Joey and Michelle.
It helps if I'm not muted. Hello.
Hello. Oh, you guys.
I like the things are yellow today.
Yeah, that's.
I thought it was different. Yep.
It's nice.
So,
I like yellow.
Yellow's good.
How
are you guys doing today? Yellow.
Yellow?
Good.
Oh, I'm blind.
We're doing good.
We're doing
This
good.
is orange. This is orange with a yellow label.
Thank you. I'm not going blind.
You're fine.
I was a little nervous there.
No,
Dark Lord, you're welcome.
Yes. So, hello to everybody in chat. We have Joe Fix It For You. Kind of convenient. Wendy Benjamin from Nova Scotia. Thank you for coming in. Dark Lord Minute slides in, as always. Then we also have Kettle Kitchen, shady character. Looks like we have Blue Self-Reliance, but don't tell anybody, okay? Shh.
Blue, go to bed.
Yes. The Purring Lady, thank you for coming in. Go to bed. Oh, you guys crack me up. Big Valley Living is in the house.
How'd that happen?
Whoop, whoop.
I don't know. You kind of keep the company, right? So shady is shady. I mean, that's just the way it rolls.
In unison, Dale.
All right. Anyways, I'm on the internet struggle bus, so bear with that. Sorry.
Okay.
You would think with nice, warm, hot weather, there wouldn't be an issue, but there seems to be an issue. So
Never good.
anyway, no. Dee's in with us, Homestead in the Wood. Thank you for coming in.
Hi, Dee.
All right. So today, for one of the collaborations that I know Ginger and I are a part of, we were talking about, and it's the small space growing collaboration that Bloo, Self-Reliance, and Digwell Greenfingers are hosting. We talked about microclimates, okay? And I thought it'd be good to give everybody a variation of our different microclimates because we all come from different areas. I mean, basically and theoretically, almost 4 corners of the U.S. So what I would like each of us to do is go through and say what zone by U.S. standards you are classified in. I am 6B. Michelle?
I am 9B.
And Ginger?
7B.
And Dale and Lisa?
If I remember right, we're 6B or 7. Let me get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you. I love it. I love it. That's funny.
I never think about that kind of thing. That's like something that I never think about.
Yep. So just to give you a comparison, and I said it in my video specifically, I'm 6B. So is Danny Wicked Awesome Gardner, and she is on the other side of the United States. Okay. And part of the issue that really does come to play in the sense of how you're growing and the patterns you're following, your last frost date, the first frost date, really plays into how you set up your garden. My point in saying that for her is that I can't grow the same way she grows. And we both have had the conversation. Her weather is totally different than mine. Now, that's from 2 different perspectives. Her climate in general is different than mine. And her microclimate is also different than mine. Okay. My climate tends to be more arid during the summer and moisture, whether that's rain or snow or ice in the wintertime. Now, like I said in my video today, today's the first day out of the last 271 days we've been above 70 degrees. That's a long time for us. Yeah.
Mhm.
But now all of a sudden you want to know what the foliage is doing? Ba-dink, 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 ba-dink. So,
Yeah.
what I'm curious about for you guys, without microclimate information, what are each of your climates like? Michelle.
We can garden year round essentially. We have to be careful in the extreme heat of summer with leafy vegetables like lettuce, cilantro, dill, anything that's sensitive to heat. We tend to bring indoors in the heat of summer, July, August, and into September. But we could grow spinach, kale, and things like that all winter long with very little cover. We also very successfully grow citrus, apples, oranges. Oh, well, oranges are citrus. Berries of all kinds. Not like huckleberries though. We can't. It's too hot for huckleberries. But we have
Yep.
really good climate for blackberries, raspberries, and certain blueberries. So it's pretty cool. We just have to know what is heat sensitive and what is cold sensitive, and then work around that.
Right. So before I continue on, Annie, Annette came in, Rena LaRue came in, and Renee, Pike Creek Farm. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Ginger, how about you? What is your general climate in the North Georgia area?
It's pretty hot here, and we have a lot of humidity that we have to deal with. So not only are the plants getting the heat, but they're getting the wall of humid that
Right.
can usually take a plant and just zap it. And it does the same for humans.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
List Homestead.
generally
Thank
hot.
you for coming in. Yes. Now,
Yeah.
and then when you get to your winter, even though they're not normally, your winters are cold, but they're not freezing cold typically, right?
No, we get freezing temperatures, but they don't stay very long. You know, we'll have a couple of days here and there. 20s and high teens are usually the lowest that we go. There may be an anomaly of once in a while there'll be one that's in the 10 degrees,
Right.
but it doesn't happen too often, and we don't get a lot of snow. We do get probably about
She's either frozen or very
3
deep in thought.
snow.
She's talking. She's talking.
We usually get about 3 snows during our winter season. A couple of light ones, and then we'll get one heavy one.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that, Dale.
Hey, Tony, before you go any further, can I ask everybody's elevation? Because that also makes a difference.
Mine is just under 1,600 feet above sea level.
And we're at 105.
Okay.
Ginger, how high are you?
I am 1,074.
15 pounds of pressure on the pressure cooker.
Every single time. Yep.
Okay,
That's it.
so I'm not skipping your question, Michelle, but I'm going to hit Dale and Lisa with all 3 of their questions. What is your growing zone? What elevation are you at? And what is your general climate in your area?
So our growing zone, I was right the first time. It's a 7A.
Okay.
So we go anywhere from, in the extreme winter, we can be down in single digits for days and weeks with lots of wind chill.
Below zero wind chill.
Below
usually.
0 wind chills. Not. It depends on the seasons. Or should I say, the weather patterns throughout the century or whatever. I remember when I was a kid, we used to get lots of snow. Then we didn't have as much snow. Then in my early adulthood, we had lots of snow, and we've kind of been in the pattern with not as much now, but some things are lining up like it did when I was younger that we probably are in for a lot of snow again. Our
summer times usually get pretty brutal.
Our summer times are pretty brutal. We're kind of like Ginger. We get to that. It's nothing for us to have sustained for weeks and months at a time at over 100 degrees.
Wow.
Plus high humidity along with that.
And right now we're going through a major drought.
We're in a major drought, and what's weird is, like we were talking about last week, we're in a major drought, but we're also dipping down into the cold during the nights. Like last night was 29 degrees here.
Oh my goodness.
Woohoo! Party weather.
Now we're back up to, today we're in the low 70s, I think.
Right.
Same here. That's funny.
But as far as, our microclimate right here, our growing or whatever, we are pretty wide open, not many shade trees or anything like that, not much shade. And so we really have to worry about wind damage and direct sunlight damage on things.
Just so we haven't moved into microclimate yet. That's the next part of the conversation. But the third question you did not answer is, what is your elevation? Yes.
I was gonna say under 1,000 feet, but I'm going to make sure. Nope, I'm wrong. It's right at 1,066.
So you're at the same elevation.
At the same elevation.
Yeah.
So I guess I can always say I live high on the mountaintop.
That's right.
You're high on the mountain. I really thought we were lower than that, honestly, here, but
have you pressure canned yet? Have you pressure canned yet?
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Do you do 15 pounds pressure then? Wow. It's funny to be like right at that line, whether you're just below it or just above it. I've always wondered how, right? Because your neighbor could be at 950.
That's right.
Sorry, Tony. I just find that fascinating.
No, I froze up. I could tell my screen went like that. So you were fine. But that does lead in. I'm glad actually you said it that way, because that does lead into the microclimate conversation. Okay. Now, microclimate would be more specific to your individual area. Okay. Now, each of us, as mind-blowing as this might be for everybody, is that all 4 of our channels could literally live within a 1-mile radius of each other and have 4 different microclimates because of the way of your elevation. Here we're talking slight elevations, but it changes a microclimate. The mountains behind you, the trees around you, the atmosphere itself doing different weather patterns, animals, farm animals, your dirt, the water you have coming in, all those things play part into microclimate. And I wanted to just give an idea of what those differences are for each of us. So let's start with Dale and Lisa. We'll go backwards since you started on microclimate already.
So, yeah, livestock wise, of course, here on the farm, we've got chickens and other livestock, pigs, stuff like that. But typically we don't think about pigs when it comes to our garden, other than that's where waste ends up at. So when we weed or anything like that, or trim, that's where they go, is in with the pigs. Prune, excuse me, didn't use the right language there. But like I was saying earlier, we usually this time of the year, we're like several others that are talking in chat are talking about, we're usually too wet. Like usually we're trying to get rid of water right now at this time of the year. It's like our mud season, and this year it's not. So that doesn't lead too well for us around here. Our soil in the county we live in is it's a sandy loam, not very high clay, and we are about anywhere from 8 to 13 inches from solid high quartz limestone.
Yeah.
So we don't have a very deep soil profile right here where we're at.
Right.
So, other
Okay.
areas around us were.
I was going to
like,
go to.
Go ahead.
I thought you were done. Sorry. I'm having the internet issue, so bear that in mind.
Struggle bus.
Go ahead.
Areas like where I farm, where my family farms, in the river bottoms, will have a lot more deep soil profile, a little more mix with clay and sandy loam, not near as close to the rock in some areas. In other areas, lots of surface rock. So.
He's done now.
So then, Ginger, how about you? What would your microclimate be?
Nana said, talk less, y'all. Talk less. Kidding. We have of course, the rain we've been getting lately. We have been getting absolutely flooded. So, and this is not, I mean, we usually get good summer rains and good summer thunderstorms and showers, but we've been getting a lot of rain. So this year is actually kind of a test for us as far as what's gonna make it, I think. It's just these last few days, and now we're struggling today. We had a couple weeks ago too with very, very high Kansas winds, and that's unusual for us here in Georgia. We don't usually have winds like this that sustain. It's been pretty brutal today, and I was looking at one of my flowers that's got a really thin stem, and then it's a little ball on the top, and the wind is just, and I'm like, oh, please survive, because I've not had to deal with this normally, which I'm sure Dale and Nana do, and they work around that, but I don't normally have to deal with that. We do have roaming animals, just wildlife. So there are rabbits and deer that come through on occasion. But the more that I feel like the more we've added to our homestead, the more things that we've added, they're kind of backing off a little bit. We don't see them as close to the house and the gardens as we used to. So that's actually gotten a little bit easier as far as that goes. But my sprout house has become my best friend because that protects everything. They get water when I want them to have water, not, all these torrential downpours. And, if I want to put them out on a slightly breezy day to kind of harden off, that's one thing. Today, they'd all get hammered. So.
Right. Speaking of that. And Michelle, how about you?
That's me.
We have largely very clay soil. We're at the bottom of a very large valley. We do have a lot of riverbeds around us. And we're only a couple miles from zone 9A. 9B is just kind of a thin line, and we happen to be in it. We tend to be about 5 degrees hotter than Sacramento proper when it gets hot. And we tend to be 3 to 5 degrees colder in the winter from the lows at night. So if they say, it's going to be 34, we cover our citrus because we expect it to be 29 to 30 here.
Right.
Right. So we have really hot, very, very dry summers. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Ginger has left the building. Go ahead. Sorry.
And when I think microclimate, Tony, because of how hot and cold it can get, I think about on our actual property. Where are the trees going to shade and what time are they going to shade? What time is my house going to provide shade? Because that's a cooler shade than the trees. And how long is it going to shade?
Right.
What needs morning sun and what needs afternoon sun? You know, that type of thing, even down to chickens. We have to really very closely plan where we build a coop, what's going to be shaded in the afternoon, what's going to get the warmth in the winter. And I mean, it can be a difference of 15 feet on the actual property. So when you're talking about microclimate, I think about on my actual property. That's in my head,
Right.
because we have to think about where things that are permanent will be planted.
And I think the definition of microclimate is very elusive, and the only reason I say that is because some people think, well, if you have a climate, what's the smaller inner circle to that climate would be microclimate. But I agree with you. I think it's even down to the point of on your property and what you deal with, that's a microclimate, because it'd be a microclimate of a microclimate. So, I mean,
Right.
yes, I could sit here and do that all day, but the end result is for you as a grower, gardener, farmer, whatever a person might be, it really comes down to your growing area is what you need to pay attention to. So I think it also plays into which kind of things you can grow. I think that has a strong significance to the plot and planning of what you're going to do too. You know, is Ginger? Oh, there she moved. I see her moving now. Are you back with us?
That wind's playing
I
havoc
think
with
so,
them.
but I can't see.
Oh,
Yeah, there she goes again. Yeah.
you need to get her
So
an
this might be an
extender.
issue, just so everybody knows. We need to get her some more baling wire. She can run up a tall tree. That's what we need to do.
Wait a
Stretch
minute,
it
I've got a
tighter.
tin can and some string.
Yeah. I sit here and I have my own moments of internet struggle bus. And Dale and Lisa have had internet struggle bus, but I think that girl plays with it worse than any of us do.
Yes, she
So.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later. Be careful. What would you guys say to that though, as far as the microclimate dictating what you're growing, I guess is really what I'm coming down to. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Like with our blueberries, we had blueberries in a fairly sunny spot that was shaded by the pomegranate years ago. Oh, Ginger, you're the clearest you've been all
Yes.
afternoon.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
I know, that's what I was just thinking.
Much better.
Now we have the blueberries where we have a raised foundation, right? So now, and the predominant winds blow west to east. So it comes under the house, under the cold ground, and comes out vents in the summertime that's about 15 degrees cooler than the temperature around it. That's where I love to weed on the hottest days, by the way. And and then it brings right, but then you feel that fan on the ground, but it acts as a fan for the plants so that they don't get overheated. Whereas an artichoke doesn't need that cold air, but you keep the ground moist and keep it covered. And then, tomatoes and peppers are what they are. You just got to prevent sunburns. And I have to ask all of you, Tony, if you could pose this question. Does anybody find themselves having to use shade cloth? And if you do, what's the percentage of blockage that you tend to use?
Dale?
We don't shade cloth. Sorry. We don't shade cloth, but what we do instead is we plant like climbing our tomatoes, our cucumbers. We plant those climbing things on the west side of that whatever crop needs to be shielded, so that we can get that natural shade out of
Right.
it in our kitchen garden area and stuff like that. Right outside our door in the raised beds. Out in the garden, we try the in-ground garden that we had last year. I tried to pick an area where we do have some trees to try to get some shade from the 1:30, 2 o'clock on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As the
Yeah.
afternoon, because the morning typically is not where we have the problem. It's when you hit that 1, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock,
Noon.
and then
Mhm.
here in Kansas, in June and July, the sun, of course, doesn't set like most places, I guess, around the country, but the sun doesn't set here till 10
9,
o'clock or
10.
after.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
at 7:30 and 8 o'clock, it's still blazing down on some of those,
Yes.
plants.
Right.
Yes. I agree.
And Tony, you must be the same way because you're so far north. You get like what, 4 hours of dark in the summertime?
That's what it feels like sometimes. No, actually, in all honesty, we get about 6 hours of dark time.
That's pretty far north.
When we go to Spokane, we'll sit out on the patio and it's 11:15 at night. You don't even think twice about it. Here it would be 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night when the sun's at that point.
Right.
So it's
and then your sunrise is between 4 and 4:30. So I mean, you have during the hottest time of the year, we have the least amount of darkness. Now, the benefit we have is that we usually get from sunrise. We'll get a couple hours before the heat starts really nailing in. On the flip side of the day, 2 hours before it's dark, it'll start cooling down, and if it's a little easier. Now I know that plays for everybody, and I get that, but when you're only doing 6 hours of darkness, that changes, a little bit. So anyway, I don't use shade cloth. I haven't used shade cloth, but I've considered moving into this year, considering the thought. So I'm looking at using it, but I have not used it. So
we want like a 50%.
Rena LaRue said,
yeah, see, that's like us, Rena. We found 50 tends to be the happy medium.
Right. And then she says hail's been their biggest problem. So,
oh, goodness.
I don't, and Ginger, I'm not sure. Do you guys use any shade cloth?
No, I use all plants to do that. The loofahs, the spaghetti squash, the butternut squash, and then corn and sunflowers.
Right.
So I use all those big ones to block the 5 o'clock shade, and then I use the climbing ones to block the things that, like peppers, that need to be protected from that dead on noon sun.
Right.
So
Tony, you start.
Is she froze or not? Because I think she is.
No, you are.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Not it.
Appreciate it.
Not
I'm here
it.
till Tuesday. What I was going to say was Dee would like to ask the question. That's up to you guys whether you want to or not. I'm in Washington State.
We're in
Georgia.
Kansas.
We're in Kansas.
North Georgia.
Okay.
And Central California.
We is all over the place.
Yes, absolutely.
Literally, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we all seem to have the same struggles with that afternoon sun, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
But, back to the shade cloth, touching on it for just a second. When you were talking shade cloth, we typically don't think about shade cloth here as something for gardening or plants or anything like that. We think about it as for livestock and
Shade for
people.
livestock.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
We put up sails around the pool in the summertime for a couple of years. but then the wind just plays havoc on them. So we'll probably put them back up again this year because the infrastructure's there. But yeah, you've got to protect the humans out there too, because it can get hot.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Right. So when you, I think the other thing that is to me is important in this section, because I would think it would fall under the same thought process. And we talk about soil a lot, so it's not necessarily that I want to talk about, but you do have, and I'm sure Michelle can talk about it from a regulated standpoint, and Dale and Lisa can talk about it from a lack of standpoint. Having access to water all the time, that also becomes part of your microclimate too, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And the cost of living.
Because
we don't have a well. We're on the municipality. They charge us now. Right. They probably should have a long time ago, but they just started about 5 years ago. So you have to be very careful about your water. And we find that we'll use gray water coming from the wash machine at the very last rinse cycle and take it outside to the smaller plant areas or the barrels and things as much as possible, because we're already using the water.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then Dale and maybe even Ginger too. I didn't mean to exclude you, but I do know that Dale and Lisa have talked about the struggle with the dry out. How does that play into your growing season or things that you're going to grow?
Well, so for us here, of course, we are depending on a lot on our farm with nature bringing us moisture, or we're the same way. We're on a rural water.
Yeah.
So it'll cost at the bottom line. Our pond that's here on the 9 acres, it has about 6 inches of water left in it, and that won't last. If we don't get a rain here pretty quick, that won't last past next week.
Oh,
we did have a open well out here, but after having a granddaughter, we decided to push it in because
we just didn't want that risk.
Don't want the risk of her being around it.
Yeah.
So hindsight's 2020. We probably should have kept it, but
oh, I understand.
At the time that we did it, that wasn't a real big thought.
Right.
But now, like Nana says, probably should have left it. But
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of us can equate to this, I'm sure. Our decisions are not always the right ones. They're just decisions we have to make. So
sometimes you got to make them on the fly.
Yeah,
exactly. Because everything
very much so.
Quickly.
Yeah. We got last year and the year before, because it worked out so well. We have gutters on our running down the side of our carport. And so we got IBC tanks and then rigged a gutter system to go into those. And that's what we collect when we have those major storms. They're like 260, maybe 325, but I think they're 260, 260 gallon IBC tanks. And so they really saved us last year big time, because we were kind of like Dale and Nana, where we were depending on the skies to give us what we could, and then supplement little at a time. But when it got to where it was so bad a couple years ago, we knew we had to step up and do something to help it out, and that's when one of the totes came in, and then it went so well that we did the other tote.
Now, my question about the tote, though, is how do you keep it in the summer from getting, does it gets really hot, right?
No,
so
it actually doesn't really it doesn't get that hot, believe it or not. That water doesn't, it's not like boiling water at any point during the summer.
Yeah. So ours, we actually use IBC totes to water our hogs,
Uh-huh.
as a water supply.
Yeah.
And that water will be
Mm-hmm.
lukewarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to do some things to make sure that stuff doesn't grow in it.
Yes.
We try to keep it in the shade to keep it a little cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's on. They're both on the back side of our carport, and the sun comes up that way in the morning and then sets on the other side. So the house and everything kind of block those. So the water stays it stays cool. So that works out for us. Is Tony frozen?
Kinda looks like
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think so.
Yeah.
Tony, are you froze on us?
Or he's good at playing a statue.
Yeah.
One of the two.
The other thing that worked very well for us, last year was, if anybody is familiar with the core planning method, that worked very well during the drought part that was so bad, and we were struggling for water. The plants the beds that we had done the core planning method in really thrived very well, and the others just kind of eked along a little, just barely surviving. But those, we're trying to adjust most of our raised bed, because we have bad clay soil too. We're trying to adjust most of them to where we can add the core planning method in there, just because it saves you completely on water.
Yeah.
Yeah. We the way that we build our raised beds really helps with the water situation.
Yeah.
Instead of using solid soil in our raised beds, we're using a lot of hay or mulch in the lower level.
that's what we're
So that
doing. We're
once
putting
it
straw.
soaks, it holds that, and then
That is the core planning method.
That's the core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives your roots something to grab onto and everything else. I think that's a neat way to go.
Yep, and they just love it on that straw.
Welcome back, Tony.
Hey,
Yes.
you guys started without me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you guys off. What were you talking about?
We were just talking about our Ginger, and was talking about the core planning method and the way that we set up our raised beds to help with the water problem.
Okay. I do think it seems to me that the rain collection system, drip system, whatever you have or can have, would be overly beneficial for people if you have the means to do that. So
We use a tape drip system. We used to use the little flags, and they'd
Right.
always pop off if there was the problem was if there was a pressure change in the water, especially in the summertime. In the summertime here, at least while we were in the throes of the drought,
right.
we would actually turn on the sink in the kitchen, and the water was room temperature. It was well into the 70s, which is not cold.
Right.
And it could get down to almost like pencil thin.
Oh,
So there
wow.
was like no pressure, which when you're wanting to water in the evening, right? Water underneath your plants and give them a little drink of water. It could take a long time to do it. So we're using that tape drip system now, which doesn't use an overly high amount of water. But the biggest thing is that those darn little flags don't pop off, and then the water police come around and educate you on something you already freaking know about. Thank you, sir. But it's a good way to get a new hose head, by the way.
Well, there you go.
Maybe with a parting gift.
But you got to listen to their spiel.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I would say, Dale, real quick, another thing that we have on one of our IBC totes is Joey, wrapped it in a brown tarp. And that
kind of like Gray Man was talking about painting it. I know others that paint them.
Yes, we wrapped it in a tarp, and that has really helped to keep that water in there cooler.
Right. So going with that, I mean, we talked about water. I'm looking for the comment I had. There it goes. Soil is important, and it's a constant, especially if it's in ground and you're not doing them in specific flower beds that are separate from the ground. I hope I said that okay and everybody understood what I meant by that. It is important to make sure that your soil is full of the nutrients that it needs. Now, the soil is also a microclimate because your area is going to have different than the next door, possibly next door neighbor. So,
yes.
Again, here, we all have different soil. Every one of us have a different soil makeup. It is not exactly the same. So, the other thing I wanted to mention with microclimate conversation, and I didn't in my video for the collaboration, but I think it's important. If Ginger says she can grow Roma tomatoes, doesn't mean Tony's going to be able to grow Roma tomatoes. Just because Dale can grow cucumbers doesn't mean Tony can. Just because Michelle can grow citrus doesn't mean Tony can. And I'm not talking in reference to the water or the temperature or the elevation or anything. It has to do with the soil makeup as well. All those things are important and it needs to be considered to that. So don't beat yourself up if you're not able to grow something, because it might be just your microclimate is causing that to happen as well. But you won't know. You can use amendments, yes. And that's where I was going to go, was that eventually at some point, if you're having a continuous struggle with the things you're trying to grow, I would recommend trying to get it tested so you know what your numbers need to be at to get that soil to proper growing soil so that you don't have a reoccurring problem with your growth. So what do you guys say?
We need to protect it. I mean, we're starting to go into no-till.
Yes.
Where we're taking the plain cardboard, laying it over, putting mulch on. And we also have beds that we have tilled throughout the years, but we've added a lot of worm castings, bat guano, mushroom compost, all kinds of stuff. And we've got beds out there now that, I mean, and we've been here for 20 years, and it's not every bed, but these are in the ground. And I could grow a carrot in there now where I couldn't have grown a radish in there when we moved in here. So you have to keep up on your soil and you've got to give it what it's lacking. But you know what, Tony, I'm going to tell you, we've never had it tested by a university, but we do have one of those test kits, like a pool test kit for water, and that works pretty darn well. So, I mean, it's a whole lot less expensive and it's quicker.
And I'm glad you said that, because just for clarification, I'm not implying go out and spend $200-300 at an entity to have it tested, because I agree with Michelle. For the gist of what I'm talking about, the kit she's talking about does exactly what you need, and then small modifications as you need to. If you're having drastic problems, then maybe I might consider that. But I would assume most people can do it with the same kind of kit Michelle was talking about. So.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else you guys want to add to that before we move on to the next thing?
I guess for me, like you were talking about with the microclimate within the soil, and then Michelle talking about like no-till practices, you know, no-till versus tillage is a humongous thing when you get into larger agricultural and farming and stuff. And so agronomy is one of those things that, you know, when you start looking at the basics of no-till and no traffic, no compaction, the microclimate that is created within those open particles of sand, soil, and clay, you know, your moisture retention stays up. It frees up the environment for everything. Now, that mechanical stirring that we're doing of that soil is actually trying to open that up and repeat that again. The only thing is we burn up that carbon in that while we're doing it. The amendment wise, amendments to me, when it come to gardening, some of the amendments that people really overlook are like what we have, and several others have preached this. It's just, we've just now discovered it. So it's like fresh in our minds, like keeping your eggshells, washing them, rinsing them out, letting them dry out, put them through the food processor, and putting them in your soil for,
your banana peels.
Your
soak them in water.
Making your own compost tub, even if that is just a plastic tub,
right?
That you buy at the store that's a foot by 3 foot long and a foot deep, and making your own compost in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone thinks of this great big contraption. Well, you can.
It doesn't have to be that big.
No.
Yeah.
You just need to monitor it. That's the biggest.
That's the main thing. Yep.
Yeah.
So, Ginger, did you have anything before I move on to the next?
No,
Okay. All right. So thank you guys for that information. I appreciate it. I'm going to give the last 13 minutes. We have an event happening this afternoon. Would you like to talk about that, Dale and Lisa?
Oh, well, okay. So at 6 o'clock on our channel will be the Angler April live giveaway, 6 p.m. Central Time. So roughly an hour from now, an hour and 15 minutes.
13 minutes.
13. And we will have some special guests on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of them being Internet Struggle Bus Tony. and second in command on the struggle bus, Ginger and Joey from Not For Nothing Homestead.
Yes.
And then led by the #1 internet by Balin Wire, 9 Acre Family Farm. So it could be an interesting live.
Yes.
We've got
a big old list of stuff.
25 items that will be given away
Nice.
on the live.
Good.
It will be a mix between hashtags and comments. So, and the comments won't be all at the end, and neither will the hashtags. So they'll be mixed out throughout the whole thing.
And we will have one that all the collaborators.
We are going to have a collaborator.
We'll have a giveaway.
Ooh.
One of the collaborators.
Oh, wow. Yay. I'm excited.
So
That's
did
been
you
a really nice collaboration, you guys?
Well,
It
yeah,
has-
I've
Yeah.
enjoyed
it has been an amazing, and I know we'll get more into that on the live, but we have been very surprised how well this has went over.
So theoretically, now that you're at your last day, would you call it a success just out of curiosity?
I think so. I think
I would. I wish it, more people would have been able to catch fish, because a lot of people.
and stay tuned for an announcement maybe along that during that live.
Yeah.
So,
Hide and watch.
Hide and watch.
Do I have to hide? Can I just watch?
You can just watch.
Okay. No, I've enjoyed it, and there's a lot of great recipes. Channels went out of their way and put some good information out, or tried to make it funny, or tried to have fun with it, and it seemed really good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of people having fun.
Yeah.
That is the main thing.
Yes.
To me, anytime that you can have fun in a collaboration is where it's at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ultimately, that just so if anybody's new, doesn't know, the collaborations that majority of us put on, and I'm including you, Michelle, because you're involved in quite a few of them, and you host your own as well. It's about the community. It's about having fun. It's about having good time. It's about putting information out there, and it's an opportunity, whether you get a view, a subscribe, a like, any of that stuff. For me, it's more about I was involved. I was able to put out a good video and people enjoyed it. That's what matters to me. So, and having fun doing it. So
It's supposed to be fun.
Ginger, will you get him a bottle
Yeah.
of water, please?
Yeah, he has a bottle of water.
Sorry, guys.
He's fine.
He said, "Sorry, guys."
No, you're fine.
The wind is picking up everything today.
Yeah.
All the pollen is like circling and everything. You name it, it's flying in the air because the wind is
The wind
good.
is terrible here too.
And so
Good.
those of you who haven't made a comment yet on videos, the
Mhm.
playlist is on 9 Acre Family Farms
Yes.
channel. So go
You have
check out
1
the
hour
playlist.
to get it
You
done.
have 1 hour. Power watch some
Run up
videos.
there, run quick. Hurry, run.
I love that. I love that. Well, I know you guys got a lot of things to do. I did get through the subject matter I wanted to discuss today, so I'm going to call it there so you guys can run and do what you need to do. Thank you, everybody that came in. I appreciate it. And give me just a second. Thank you to all those that came in chat. Thank you to those that did mod. Thank you to you guys again. As I always say, without you guys, it doesn't make this as fun or interesting, so we appreciate it. Michelle.
I just wanted to thank Dark Lord Minute for putting out the link to the Angler April Live. Thank you very much.
Yep.
He
Thank
is
you.
doing a heck of a job at that wrench.
And give that man a wrench, and he's on
Yep.
it.
He
Yeah.
definitely has earned it, and I will give him credit for that. So thank you.
Good
All right,
job,
guys.
dog.
We'll see you next week. And I'll see most of you
In an
over
hour.
on the next
In
one.
an
in an
hour.
So,
Go over there.
Bye, guys.
There's some
all right, guys. Thank
hashtag
you.
giveaways too.
Yes,
There you go.
hashtag giveaways.
Make sure you're
Oh,
there.
Wait, one more thing. Ginger, what starts tomorrow?
And Nana.
Spring salads.
Spring salad.
That's mine and Nana's collab. Nana
Yep.
and I are hosting that together, and that starts tomorrow. So look for the first video of hashtag spring salads to drop tomorrow.
Yes.
Hopefully, if a collaborator gets the video done.
Yes, exactly.
Boy, you know how to throw somebody on a Mack truck, don't you?
Wow.
Well, mine's
No
at the end of
shade
the
here.
Oh, I thought it was hers. I'm
No,
sorry.
No shade.
other way around.
Mine's at the end of the month.
Nana starts tomorrow. Nana's at, no, I'm kidding. She's
Yeah.
like, what? Say what? No, it's mine tomorrow. So look for the
Yep.
intro to spring salads tomorrow from me.
Suburban Hillbilly and Joey are saying yes, spring salads.
Spring. Oh, I should have named it spring salad instead of spring because that's how.
All right, guys.
For you.
Have a good night. We'll see you
Bye,
later.
y'all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.